Last week, I had a throbbing, splitting headache. I filmed this rant about 3 to 4 hours after Raw, where I spent the better part of 20 minutes shouting about a genuine children's show, all for your entertainment. This week, I'm doing the second video in what's going to be a trilogy, okay? This is the trilogy as to why I'm done with Monday Night Raw. Okay, last week I did Raw Is An Embarrassment. This week I'm doing the Expose of Raw. Next week I'm doing 50 Reasons Why Raw Is Unwatchable. So that's the trilogy I'm doing. This week, my God, I've got so much to say. This week is about the April 5th, 2021 episode of Monday Night Raw. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, for those of you who are coming across this video and you're living under a humongous boulder, Wrestlemania is this Saturday and Sunday. And I guess you can kind of count Friday, but not really because of WrestleMania SmackDown. Whatever. WrestleMania is this weekend, right? So WWE have this grand WrestleMania stay-home show on Monday night, and we get, yet again, just like last week, we get, 3 to 6? 6 is a bit harsh. I'll say 3 to 5. 3 to 5 different segments on this show where you're watching it, and you're thinking, okay, legitimately, the only creative thought process that could have possibly occurred to get this content onto television was, let's write a show for 5-year-olds. Legitimately. Like, that's the kind of stuff that we're seeing on Raw now. Ever since WWE has officially moved the WWE Network to Peacock in the US, ever since then, ever since Fastlane on, look at these 2 Raws we've gotten. Last week's Raw show featured legitimately 5 full-fledged segments and things that were literally catered for 5-year-olds. This week, we got another 4 or 5. It's like WWE, this is the direction. This is where WWE is going, okay? And I just want to get this clearly, abundantly stated. If WWE want to cater to children, all the power to them. But if you're going to do that, please do it well. Please do it in a way that, I guess, somehow makes your older audience not feel like they're literally watching a show that's literally made for 5-year-olds. Can you get some kind of balance there, please? Please, Vince, Bruce, whoever's writing these shows nowadays, can we get some kind of balance? Because it feels like WWE, in the month of February and March, went from Raw being okay, a boring 3-hour show as it always is, but it's just Raw, it's just a dead show. Now it's gone from just a dead 3-hour boring show to a dead 3-hour boring show that's literally made for 5-year-olds. And you might be thinking to yourself, elitist, what do you mean it's made for 5-year-olds? Well, why are you going to be yelling about a children's show? What's so bad this week? Why are you still complaining? If you don't like it, don't watch. As I said earlier in this video, this is a trilogy as to why I'm not going to watch Raw after WrestleMania. So, nonetheless, that's that point covered. As far as just the general segments they're doing for 5-year-olds, this week we got a couple of things. First off, I want to address this. When Matt Riddle came out, and he did his entrance for his match with Ali, which, thrilling match right there. Riddle comes out, he does his, entrance, he kicks his, flip-flops off, and literally they do a big thing of, CGI animated birds flying towards the camera. This big collection, this big, flock of these, 10 to 15 CGI animated birds. And I'm just like, what? And people who are going to be critical of me, what I do, are going to definitely say, elitist, who cares? This is a CGI graphic. You're getting annoyed over a CGI graphic on a 3-hour children's show that no one watches nowadays. Yeah, because it sets a general precedent for the show. And, that was just one thing. That was just weird. I saw that, and a lot of people saw that, and they did a people's eyebrow, and was like, what is this? Okay, so they did that. And then that's not to mention this whole Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon. I get this. This segment is literally made for 5-year-olds. I completely get that. But nonetheless, for the sake of content, I feel the need to roast this. Okay, you've literally got Braun Strowman, a 330-pound former powerlifting champion, someone who's won all these powerlifting awards. A famed powerlifter in 2010 and 2011. This guy won the Monster of the Midland 2010 powerlifting competition, pal. Braun Strowman comes out. He walks into the steel cage, has the microphone, and the promo he cuts, he literally goes, Shane, at WrestleMania, I am fighting for everyone who's ever been called stupid. everyone who's ever been called an idiot. Choo choo. That was the promo. Okay, you might have just heard that, and you're probably thinking to yourself, that was one of the most cringe things I've ever heard. I want to unsubscribe from the Elitist channel. And if you're thinking that, I don't blame you. I really don't. Watching that promo on Raw made me want to never watch Raw again. And after WrestleMania and the Raw after Mania, I'm not going to watch Raw ever again. So that's the good thing. Not ever again. I'm going to be held that for sure. But nonetheless, I'm going to watch Raw really sparingly, just like I used to. I'm only watching Raw at the moment for WrestleMania season. Nonetheless, you guys pretty much know that. Nonetheless, anyway, the Braun Strowman, Shane McMahon thing, I'm going to give that a bit more leeway, because that is legitimately being written to please kids. That's like a storyline legitimately made for kids. So I'm not going to be as critical on that, but my God, that Braun Strowman promo. Dear Lord Almighty, hear my prayers. So that was that one. You had Riddle with the CGI birds. I mentioned that. Miz and Bad Bunny's thing this week. This week we had Miz and John Morrison. Bad Bunny arrived to the arena in apparently a $3.6 million Bugatti, and then they just leave the Bugatti sitting there because, that makes sense. They just leave Bad Bunny leaves a $3.6 million car sitting in the corridor. Okay, brilliant thinking, just realistically, you'd leave a $3.6 million car sitting in the hallway at a wrestling show. Brilliant. So, nonetheless, he leaves a $3.6 million car sitting there. Then, 5 minutes later, we get the Miz and John Morrison, who, as Bonafide Heat brilliantly says, looks like a failed action movie star, and it's a failed reality star in John Morrison and the Miz. These two guys come over, laughing. They're looking at Bad Bunny's $3.6 million car that he just drove into the arena, and Miz and John Morrison, they proceed to paint "Hey hey hop hop" on the bonnet of the car. They walk around. Miz draws paints a little bunny. He writes "The Miz." It's like, oh yeah, wow, 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 yes, content, pal. The company went from Austin, driving into the arena, nearly running over 8 different security guards in a cement Corvette, well, not Corvette, but a cement truck, breaking fences, nearly killing security guards, pouring it into McMahon's Corvette that was, left outside his office. Went from that to one of the most famous artists in the world, for some reason parking a $3.6 million Bugatti in the hallway. And then a failed reality star and a guy who looks like he couldn't make it on TikTok, they come over and proceed to write "Hey, hey, hop, hop" on the bonnet. Brilliant. So that's now a tag match at WrestleMania. Great. Priest and Bunny are clearly going to win, nonetheless. Anyway, as far as the rest of this show, you look at the rest of this show, and it's just the direction of this show is not looking good at all. People say it's so pessimistic. Well, you look at where Raw is now in the go-home show to WrestleMania. Think about where Raw is going to be in the middle of June, when they're building up to Battleground. Where's Raw going to be, quality-wise, when they're building up to Battleground? I ask you that, because these Raws right now, it really does remind me of 2018, deep in the end of 2018, when the main event was literally Corbin, Lashley, and McIntyre as a 3-man stable. Does that ring a bell? Because that's legit what's happening right now. Granted, it's not the stable, but it's legit those 3 guys feuding. So, legit, the main event scene's the exact same. It's just as childish, just as G-rated, just as cringe. Raw is literally as bad as it was at the end of 2018, which has been notoriously vilified and, labeled as the worst Raw in the history of WWE. These shows we've seen last week, not as much this week. This week was just flat out dead. It was a dead go-home WrestleMania. If this is the WrestleMania go-home show that WWE's putting out, they're thanking their lucky stars. The Peacock's legitimately $2.50 if you have the premium subscription. And they're thanking the lucky stars that this is WrestleMania. The fact that there's going to be fans back in attendance, the fact that WrestleMania sells itself, WWE is going to be thanking their lucky stars, because, my God, the build gets worse worse year over year. I don't know how they do it. Last year, I made 3 rants saying it's the worst road to WrestleMania ever. This year, it's been exponentially worse. I didn't think they could get worse, but they made it way worse. Watching these Raw shows, SmackDown was good up until like January, and ever since then, it's legit been, oh well, we're just going to rehash the same story. We're going to rehash Reginald, Sasha, and Bear. This isn't a SmackDown video. I'll save that for another time. Nonetheless, Monday Night Raw, legitimately, the main event was a 20-minute match between Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre. Because when you tell me, elitist, how would you book a go-home Raw main event before WrestleMania? The go-to answer is clearly Baron Corbin versus Drew McIntyre. I mean, my God, who wouldn't book Baron the Burger Constable STD King Corbin against Drew McIntyre? McIntyre is legitimately, yet again, shining through this awful material. His opening promo was genuinely quite good. It was a great promo. His main event match, he did his best. Corbin is just... he's just so bland, it's not funny. So you get this main event 20-minute match. By the time you do commercial breaks, entrances, and the shenanigans at the end, this was legitimately the last 40 minutes of the show. So this is the go-home closure of Monday Night Raw before WrestleMania. Don't do some giant angle like 22 years ago when you had Stone Cold Steve Austin drive a beer truck out to the ring and spray Vince McMahon, spray Shane, spray WWF Champion Rock with beer. Don't do something like that that's going to make, millions and millions of people desperate to see WrestleMania and desperate to tune into the pay-per-view. Instead, have a 20-minute match that literally no one was asking for. No one in the community is asking desperately to see Corbin versus McIntyre. But the fact of the matter is, considering the direction of this main event scene, we're going to be getting Corbin and McIntyre at 1 or 2 pay-per-views, the WWE Championship, coming out of WrestleMania. We're going to be seeing McIntyre versus Strowman for 1 or 2 pay-per-views coming out of WrestleMania. That's the kind of direction the main event scene on Raw is heading. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully something happens at WrestleMania that changes this altogether. But more than likely, it's just going to be Drew beating Lashley, getting a mixed, very kind of a Cena 2012-esque reaction, and then that'll be that. And then Drew will be champion. He'll have his program with Baron Corbin for 2 pay-per-views. He'll have his Strowman program. He'll do a rematch with Lashley. He'll probably have a match with like Keith Lee or something, and then he'll lose the title to God knows who. Like, legit, that's the main event scene. That's the all-encompassing main event scene of this show. Like, usually, a main event scene can be good enough to save a show. This is not. This main event scene, McIntyre, he's doing some great work. Lashley's dope. I like MVP. But as good as they are, they can't make this show worth watching. They can't make Riddle with CGI birds doing some of the most bland, get it, he's a stoner comedy you've ever seen. Like, even Lashley and McIntyre in their main event stuff, they can't make it good because now Baron Corbin's involved. And Baron Corbin took a legitimately good main event storyline to okay, who really cares? Corbin took the main event from that to that. So, you take, with that considered, you look at Riddle with the CGI birds. You've got AJ Styles having a 1.5-minute long match with Xavier Woods because Kofi threw a microphone at Omos's crotch, and then Omos was like looking annoyed at Kofi, and then Woods rolled up Styles in a minute and a half, and that was legit the tag title. That was the tag title picture, legit. That's the build. That is the tag team division on Raw. Tag team division is a 1.5-minute long match where Kofi Kingston, who isn't even wrestling, grabs a microphone, throws it at Omos's crotch, and then runs away. And that is legit the tag team division. Like, just, hello? We've got Miz and Morrison riding Hey Hey Hop Hop on a $3.6 million Bugatti. You got Braun Strowman screaming that he's fighting for all idiots and inbreds and imbeciles who've ever been called as such at his WrestleMania match versus Shane. You've got Asuka and Rhea Ripley in a tag match against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, because this is what we constitute as build. Because legitimately, the build of the Raw Women's title match has been Rhea Ripley saying, Asuka, I deserve a Raw Women's Championship match, Asuka. I deserve the match, Asuka. And then Asuka doing her usual, you're not ready for Asuka shenanigans. And then Shayna Baszler coming out there. And Nia Jax, she doesn't look like most girls, apparently. She comes out there. Reginald's just there. This is the Raw Women's title picture. Wow. And then we're doing a women's tag team turmoil at WrestleMania because, yay. And then, what else is there? We've got Riddle versus Ali. Riddle beat, I didn't watch that match, and then Sheamus was involved. The main event's a 20-minute Corbin versus McIntyre match, because that is what all the focus groups are asking for, Corbin versus McIntyre in a 20-minute match. And I know people are going to say, elitist, what would you have done? I would have done a creative night-long storyline involving Lashley and McIntyre. Not a storyline which leads to a 25-minute match with Baron Corbin. That is literally the last thing you can do to main event WrestleMania, or the Raw before Mania. That's the last thing you should be doing. But WWE, trust them to just say stuff that and do it anyway. So, yeah, that's been the Raw before Mania. This was apparently supposed to get people excited for WrestleMania. At least, well, that's the point of the go-home show. But then again, considering the WWE Network became a thing, the pay-per-views became kind of just outlawed and ran out of fashion, and now Peacock's a thing, and WrestleMania can legitimately cost you $2.49 if you have like a premium Peacock subscription. Like, it's just a joke. I mean, that's been the video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, like, comment, sub, and drill. See ya.